Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your preview for Luton Town versus Manchester United in the Premier League. And a big game for Man United in different ways to the last few games, because we're going into a run of fixtures now that we're expected to win more than anything else. But we've got plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about a new defensive crisis. We're going to talk about the importance of goals. And of course then we will be doing our predicted 11 and score predictions as well. Make sure you're joining along. Get your comments in below. Let's get straight into it. So we're going to start with Manchester United's defensive crisis. Now, we have had one of these already this season, but it does look like Manchester United are going into a difficult period again in terms of the actual defenders that are fit for the club. Now, look, we do know obviously Lisandro Martinez is out for a long period of time, the next maybe 7 or 8 weeks. However, we're looking now at the full-back areas. Both right and left full-back is an area of concern. We already know that Terrell Malacia has had a setback in his rehabilitation. It's going to be a few weeks before he's back. We also know that Aaron Wan-Bissaka now, according to Ten Hag during the week, is going to be out for a couple of weeks as well with an injury. And of course then we've got doubts over Luke Shaw and whether he's going to be fit. Ten Hag said in his interview that Luke Shaw is a doubt. He said we're going to have to wait and see on Sunday. He's trained during the week, but he is touch and go in relation to whether he'll actually be available for selection on Sunday. We've got a big problem here at fullback, especially more than anything else. We've seen the defensive injuries throughout the season, and I think it's been a massive reason why United haven't, I suppose, carried on from the success of last season. You know, Martinez has been out for long periods of time. We've seen Varane pick up injuries. Luke Shaw has been out twice now. Malacia is out long term. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been out a couple of times as well. So it's been quite worrying, and we're going into a similar period now where fullbacks are out. Now, look, I mean, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, you would hope Luke Shaw is back and Malacia is back and Wan-Bissaka is back and we're back to full strength. But for the time being, we're very short in them areas. Now, what does it mean in relation to who plays where? We know Diogo Dalot has played at left back before. However, he's been playing absolutely fantastic the last few games at right full. So do you move him? And that's the big question here, and we'll get into my predicted 11 in a few minutes. But I suppose I want to know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. We seen when Lindelof came on at left back against Aston Villa last week, he looked completely out of his depth. He looked like a fish out of water. Playing on that left-hand side, we know he's right-footed. Do you move Dalot over to the left full position and maybe play Lindelof on that right-hand side? Because if Luke Shaw is not fit, we basically only have one fit, established fullback, basically, and that's Diogo Dalot. You're going to be playing Lindelof more than likely in one of them areas because we don't really have anybody else. He's a centre-back by trade, and yeah, we're going to be short. But what do? Do you move Dalot over to left full and maybe leave Lindelof on the right-hand side where he's a little bit more comfortable? I think that's probably the smarter thing to do. However, you do have to take into consideration the fact that Dalot has been playing so well over the past few games at right full. Does that hamper or does that, maybe diminish his standards or his quality and how well he's been playing over the last few games? It's a big decision that Erik Ten Hag has to make, and one that we have to get right because, I mean, defensive frailties throughout the season, we've seen it at its peak when we've had the most injuries more than anything else. So it is a concern. And it's one that United do have to get right. We do have to be very smart and very controlled when it comes to the defence on the weekend. Because, look, I mean, Luton are going to be no pushovers. You know, obviously they're playing at home as well, and it's a little tight ground. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. So we're going to have to be defensively sound. But yeah, we'll get into our predicted 11 in a minute. Erik Ten Hag has got some big decisions to make. But let me know what you would do in the comment section below. Now, next up, we're going to talk about goals and the importance of them in this fixture. And a lot of this has to do with what we just spoke about, the defence. Manchester United's defensive record this season has been really poor. However, over the last few games, since we started to get players back, obviously, we've got a few injured now again, but Martinez coming back, Luke Shaw coming back, Varane, Dalot starting to play really well. We've started to see some much improved defensive performances. Now, what that doesn't win you games, okay? That gives you the opportunity to go and win games. You still have to go and score goals. Goals win games. It's as simple as that. Now, we have been scoring goals lately, which is very good. And I think it's going to be very important in this game against Luton. obviously that we score goals. I mean, that's important in every game. We have to take our chances. Will we concede against Luton? I mean, with a makeshift defence, it's always possible. You know, they've had some quite positive results in the last few weeks as well, and we'll speak about Luton in a few minutes. But goals are going to be very important. We know that, obviously, Rasmus Højlund is on fire at the moment. 5 goals in 5 games consecutively for United in the league, and you would hope that will continue. Alejandro Garnacho on that right-hand side. I think the top 3 in general seems to have maybe established itself more than anything else, and it doesn't seem like we're going to be changing it anytime soon, barring maybe resting 1 or 2 players for maybe lesser games, or, you know, please God, it doesn't happen, but maybe an injury here or there. So I think the front line is pretty much set in stone. Marcus Rashford is starting to put in not magnificent performances, but he's starting to get a little bit of consistency about his game the last few games, ever since the incident with Belfast and so on and so forth. He looks like he's got a bit of focus about him again, which is very, very good. Rasmus Højlund, like we said, is on fire, and I think more than anything else, the 3 players up front, Garnacho, Rashford and Højlund, are starting to figure out each other's games a little bit more, and they're starting to understand where each person is going to be on the field at different times and so on and so forth. And we mentioned this when we started to get players back from injury, that the importance of playing a settled 11 as much as possible between now and the end of the season, I think, will give us a massive boost towards going on and having some improved performances and consistent results, hopefully. And I think that comes down to an awful lot we see then is, like what we're seeing with the forward line, they're starting to learn each other's games. And they're starting to look for each other. They're starting to link up really, really well. And they're starting to form a relationship and a bond. And I think that's vitally important going forward. It really is. And the more we can do that, the more comfortable these players will get with playing with each other. And naturally, the more goals they will score. They'll start playing with confidence. They'll start, you know, trying things maybe that they didn't before. You know, we said, I mean, for the opening 4 months of the season, that Rasmus Højlund has been working off of scraps and wasn't getting the service. The last few games, we've been seeing the likes of Rashford, the likes of Garnacho, trying to pick him out more. Players not being as selfish. Now, you do have to have a little bit of selfishness about you when you're playing a forward line for United. That's obvious. But they're starting to understand where each other, you know, each other's game and where they are on the field, and I think that's vitally important. And long may it continue, because we're going to need to score goals. Back to the original point, we're going to need to score goals against Luton, because I think if we do have a makeshift defence, which it more than likely looks like it's going to be, we're going to have to score more than 1 goal, I think, to win the game. But let's see what happens. Let me know in the comment section below. Now, let's talk a little bit about the opposition and Luton Town. Obviously, Manchester United go to Kenilworth Road, and a bit of an old school, old style stadium, and it's great to see. It really, really is. This is the reason why there was so much pushback against the Super League a couple of years ago, because of the likes of Luton Town, you know, going from, you know, obscurity in the lower leagues all the way to the top of the Premier League, and it's absolutely fantastic to see. Now, I want to absolutely hammer them tomorrow. No question. But I really, really do hope Luton stay up. I think it's a fairy tale story from them with the ground that they have, you know, and the facilities and so on and so forth. But it's absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see. Manchester United really have to be on their game here tomorrow. Luton Town, especially at home, they've got this real resilience about them, I have to say, throughout the entirety of the season. And if we look at the fixtures, in all competitions, they've only lost once in their last 7 games between league and cup games. You know, obviously they've drew with Newcastle lately. They lost to Sheffield United, which was last week, so it's probably a good time to be playing them. But besides that, they haven't lost a game in league or cup since the 30th of December, which is really, really good for a team like Luton. And United really have to be on their game. It's the type of ground that United could go to and just get swallowed up if you don't stand up and be counted for. You know, personality, you know, you really need to be on your game. You just, you know, show your quality, and an early goal, I think, is vitally important. And like I said, Luton, the longer Luton are in the game, and we've seen this an awful lot with them, you know, so far this season. I mean, for God's sake, they beat Brighton 4-0 a couple of weeks ago. The longer they're in a game, the more they grow into it. Obviously, the old school ground with the crowd getting behind them, so on and so forth. United really needs to stand up and be counted for tomorrow. I mean, Luton could easily get a result here, absolutely easily. But you would say that with the quality that United have, you would be expecting to brush him aside. But I think, like I said, an early goal. Don't sit back like United tend to do an awful lot this season. Get a goal, start really well, and then all of a sudden allow teams back into the game. You cannot allow Luton to do that in this fixture tomorrow, especially with the ground and the crowd that they have. I think United should get the job done, but we do have to be on our toes. We really, really do. Now, let's talk about predicted 11. This is the 11 that I think will start. Again, you can let me know your predicted 11 in the comment section below, or what changes maybe you would make to my predicted 11. I think this is the one that's going to start, and I think it's going to be the strongest team. We'll put it up on the screen here. I think this is how we're going to go. Now, an awful lot depends on Luke Shaw and whether he's available or not. But obviously, Andre Onana starts in goal. A back four then, I think, is again, like I said, whether Luke Shaw's fit or not, this will most certainly change. If I've gone on the basis that Luke Shaw's not going to be available to start, and I've gone with Lindelof at right full, I've gone with Delo at left full, and then of course Maguire and Varane at centre back. I think Maguire especially has been playing really well throughout the entirety of the season, you would have to say, when he's been called upon. Delo has been playing really well, albeit at right full. You would hope, if Luke Shaw is not available and he goes over to left full, that he can keep up his good performance levels. Lindelof is a big one. He's going to have to be on his game if he's playing at right full. Midfield three then, I think this is the most set in stone midfield. I think from the defence up, from the midfield up, I think it's pretty much set in stone for the remainder of the season. Casemiro, Kobe Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. It's the midfield is just working perfectly. Look, we know Scott McTominay has come on and he's made really big impacts, throughout the season, but I think that's what he's there for, impacts, not starting. So I think the midfield three is pretty set in stone. And then the forward line, like we mentioned, guys, Garnacho on the right, Rashford on the left, and Højlund through the middle. It picks itself more than anything else. And I think it's going to be that case between now and the end of the season, barring some injuries, which I hope we don't get. Look, this team has more than enough to get the job done against Luton. We need to stand up and be counted for, put in a good performance, control the game for the majority of the 90 minutes and not allow Luton to get a grip hold of the game. And I think if we can do that, we can get a comfortable win here and pick up 3 points. If I'm going with a score prediction, guys, like I said, makeshift back four, in my opinion, you're taking Luke Shaw out. And by Luke Shaw being out, you're changing 3 things, basically. Luke Shaw is out, the logo's left, and then you're bringing in Lindelof at right side, right full. Score prediction, I think United should get the job done. I think we probably will concede. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Manchester United. I think we can get the job done. Goals from Rasmus Højlund, and I'm going to go with 2 for... No, I won't. I'll go all 3 to get a goal up front. Rashford, Højlund and Garnacho. 3-1 to United. Let me know your score predictions in the comment section below as well, guys. Let me know what you think about the starting 11 as well. We will be live for the game tomorrow as well, so make sure you're joining us for that. We'll be doing a watch along for it. Please smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Everybody is welcome. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.